I didn't even have a car, didn't have the money to go to the track, didn't have things like that. So I started running up the local hills, pushing my friends' cars, going to the local backstreet gym where I had a free membership. There was a few ways where I nearly went down the wrong path, which would have made me money, but it would have been a bad life. It would have been a life which I never wanted to do. It's a life which I'd seen shot, in close range. They're great footballers, incredible at what they do, but that's like that's like our relay team thinking, right, we can go and beat Liverpool in a football match just because we're fast. It's not that simple. So they're great at what they do. They are fast compared to a normal human being. The next day, when I finished fourth and didn't win the title, that Puma called me up and said, "We're cancelling your contract." And then I looked up and I could see Luke Cutts and Robbie Grabbars, and they're waving the Great Britain flags and they're pointing at me. I'm thinking, me? And I'm thinking, what? So I'm walking back, looking up at the scoreboard, and it flashed up Richard Kilty, world champion. I remember the song Tina Turner, Simply the Best, started blasting out. You're simply the best.
Hello, so welcome back to another episode of Athletics Productionz. It's our 5th episode. We've got someone interesting for you today. He's ran 6:49 for the 60 and 10:01 for the 100. 10:01, I'm Victor, DJ Armani, and we've got Richard Kilty with us today. How has it been so far?
It's been good. We just had a relay session today in the middle of the season. Now getting towards like the business end of things, and everyone's starting to get creeping closer towards shape. Trials are now 6 weeks away, and
because you'd have done trials now, do you?
Yeah, really? It would have been about time for trials now. So I feel like everyone's starting to slowly round into shape. A few people have had a few niggles, injuries. Me personally, I had a bit of a slow start to the season. Few hundreds, most of them were into a headwind. All of my races have been into headwinds, so I've been a bit unlucky with conditions, but I feel like I'm ready to.
That's a seasonal thing for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last few seasons for you, a lot of your best times have been into a headwind, and then there's like the 1 or 2 races where it's like, oh, okay, cool, I actually get a tailwind today.
Yeah, definitely. So it seems hopefully I can get some good conditions. I remember 2016, I was getting a few bad conditions. I think European indoor semi-final, I ran 10:01 something into a headwind, and then the week later, as soon as I had a bit of a tailwind, I ran 10:01. So could do with hopefully in still conditions, ready to drop something a bit faster. Okay. Hopefully this weekend on in the anniversary games.
So on the side of things where like normally at this point we would have done trials, and it's quite a different setup this year because everything's so much later in the season.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's kind of worked for you, where you had some niggles in the winter season, or has it still kind of played a massive part in your plans where it's not gone so well?
Yeah, I think for me it's a blessing to have it a little bit later on because not many people knew how serious my Achilles injury was over the summer. Yeah. I had a tear in my Achilles. My Achilles was torn.
Okay.
I was suffering with Achilles tendinopathy for about 2 years. And then eventually got that bad that I had a tear down my Achilles.
Yeah. And
I had to have my Achilles operated on, and I also had to have my plantaris removed and the other side of my tendon scraped. So it ended up being much more complicated than we thought it was. And then over the winter, my training was very much modified. I had to
gym session, no heavy gym sessions.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. No plyometrics, no bounding, no hurdle hops, no explosive starts and spikes, which I love to do, especially from like December, January time. And so I lost a little bit of that snap coming out of the blocks over the winter. And after the indoor season, it's given me a little bit more time. So I've been able to go into kind of like a second block of winter training through like March and April, and even a little bit in May, knowing that the trials are so late. So for me, I prefer it being a little bit later. It gives me a little bit more time to get the confidence back in my Achilles, and it does take a while.
So how's it been like confidence-wise, knowing you've gone through this massive injury? Yeah. Is it the first time you've been through such a long injury as well, where you've missed, and it's kind of an important year as well, coming up to Tokyo 2020? Would that have been playing in your head like, I need this year to sort of prepare myself for next year?
Yeah.
Because I know you're aiming to go under 10. Like, well, most people in your place will be.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that's been... I've had that pressure on me to go under 10 ever since 2014. And I've been very, very close on numerous occasions. But, you know, I've had, you know, a little bit of... You know, I've had quite a few injuries over the last few years. And, I think the confidence thing, I did struggle a little bit over the winter, and not only that, it wasn't after the surgery, it was after I won the European Indoors in 2017 when I defended my title. I was over in Florida training with Lance Brawman's group, and my Achilles just flared up so bad that eventually I had to have injection after injection. I think I had so many injections, painkilling injections into that Achilles, and I felt like it'd be okay, then I'd run, it'd be bad. So I missed the whole of 2017 with the Achilles. Well, I had a few races in the summer. I tried to come back, and then I severed my finger here. So I was looking after my son. First day that I ever had him by himself. His mum was jumping in Italy. She's a world-class triple jumper. First time I had him, got him strapped in the car. Anyway, was rushing, left his milk in the house, ran into the house, ran out the door, pushed the door too far fast behind me, caught my finger and literally ripped out the nail bed, crushed it completely. And then on top of that, I was meant to go to London for the relay. Even though I was struggling with my Achilles and the Achilles injury. That kind of had a knock on into 2018 where I was getting injections into it. It wasn't the solution, and I knew deep down, and I was telling the doctors and people, there's something deeper here. It's these injections.
It's not helping. They're just keeping the injuries away for a longer period.
So they weren't listening to you. Essentially, they weren't really listening to what you were trying to tell them that you were feeling in your body.
Well, I felt like a few of them had different opinions on exactly what it was. And I felt like every opinion that I had, I thought, it's not quite that. That's not quite working. And I tried everything from loading it, injections, resting, this and that. Mm-hmm. So the whole process of my Achilles injury started in April 2017, and I didn't end up getting. I didn't end up getting. In fact, it initially came on at the Olympics when we were running in Lane 1 in Rio, but heavily since the just after the European Indoors in 2017, and I was suffering for almost about a year and a half till it eventually got operated on, and then it was like, wow, I wish I had this operation a year ago, and I would have been moving quicker. So the last 2 summers, I've essentially missed them both, and the last 2 indoor seasons, well, this indoor season I came back, it was my comeback season, but the year before that, 2018 indoors, I had a few races, but I was in pain brutally every single race, and to be honest with you, it did rock my confidence. Not confidence, it was just like, I wasn't confident of standing on the line and running pain-free. I'd never ever doubt my ability, but when you stand on the start line, you're in pain all the time, and then you're not quite running as good. I knew that was the issue, and so it was tough.
So going into 2019, your first European indoor game. What happened between the trials and your selection, all the media things that went on? How did you carry that? Well, how did you go through that process?
Yeah, it was, so a lot of people, I've got to the point now where I feel like I don't really say as much as I used to, because sometimes what I've said in the past, sometimes people have twisted it and ran with it, and I've ended up looking like the bad person. But I'll tell you the process of exactly what went on from kind of the start of the indoor season. I started the indoor season thinking I'm just going to race and see what happens if I can manage to get back in time. It was a big shout.
If your body's ready.
I had an Achilles surgery 5 months before the indoor season. It was a tough thing. Anyway, I managed to somehow get myself on the start line in some form of shape. Started off really slow anyway. I ended up running 6:64, went to the trials, was so inconsistent, ran really bad. Just wasn't me out there, and it was I had to put my pride on the side. And to be honest with you, I ended up getting beat by people I thought would never beat me, especially over the 60 metres, being so successful in that event. Prior to that, I'd been Europe's number 1 for 4 years in a row, with 2 European titles and a world title. And I just thought to myself, if I'm going to move on with my career, if I'm going to have the confidence in the Achilles, I'm going to have to step on the start line and put my pride to one side and just run. And I didn't run very well. Went to Birmingham the next week, ran a little bit better, 6:63, still a mile off from what my standards are.
Yeah,
that's a very poor performance for me in terms of what I've done in the past. And anyway, I felt like they might have selected me. I'd missed the standard, I think by a few hundredths of a second, and I'd beaten all the lads that beat me at the trials.
Yeah.
And then I didn't get selected, but then I had like loads of support of people on social media saying that I should be going as defending champion. I felt like defending champion should always have a
wild
If
card.
you have a choice, you should be able to decide if you want to go to it, really.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, you know what, I've came so far and I've gone through so much mental battles through my Achilles injuries, this and that. Got dropped by Nike, no sponsorship. I got dropped by another sponsor, Totem Sport. So financially, I took a big hit there in my earnings. And obviously, without a summer of competing, if you're not racing, you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'd done really, really well in the years before then to be quite comfortable. But I felt like there was a lot of pressure on my shoulders anyway. A lot of people thought that I should have been running as defending champion.
Yeah.
And anyway, I thought to myself, well, you know what, I'll put an appeal process in. As I went to put an appeal process in, somewhere along the line, because of probably all the social media stuff, British Athletics didn't want me to run. And I thought to myself, okay, it's a bit disappointing that they don't want me to run. I can understand that they have their policy and their selection, but I did have the European Athletics standard, and the British Athletics standard was quite high. In fact, if you'd done the British Athletics standard, you would have won the European Championships, which was crazy. And, whereas the women's standard, you wouldn't have made the final.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that could be reviewed. But anyway, no excuses. In the past, that would never have been an issue for me. I've ran under 660, I think 50 times, 45 times. I've run 6'5" or 6'4".
Which is a record in itself.
Yeah, which is massive. And so I thought to myself, in the past, that wouldn't be an issue, but it had, because I had an Achilles. I was coming back from an Achilles injury. Anyway, somewhere along that process, before the appeal even got heard by British Athletics, European Athletics contacted me and said, look, we've overrided it and we're putting you in.
Sick.
So thanks for European Athletics for doing that. Went to Glasgow. I thought I was going to win. Really thought that my experience and my talent would get me through it. I knew that I hadn't had the background of training and the preparation that I probably needed, but I put it on the line, went out there and fell short, but I was proud of myself that I got on the line and I had an opportunity to defend my title with my shield held high, and didn't pay off, but I'm sure I'll come back again and I think I can win that title.
What made, having that surgery 5 months before, what was the key thing that made you say, you know what, as much as I've had this, I'm still going to go and race? Because Achilles is one of those injuries that you kind of, as sportsmen and women, we all know that that's a very dangerous area when it comes to injuries.
Yeah.
So having had the surgery, what made you say, you know what, I've only had this much training, but I'm still going to go and compete? Because it wasn't even like you were competing just to kind of see where you were. Like, you were really going for it. And obviously I know being defending champion, that does come into play, but your health as well. So what was the deciding factor? Like, what pushed you on to do it?
You know what's, when I came out after I had my surgery, when I came round, one of the things which got me through my rehab, I was driving an hour and a half every day to the rehab centre up and down into North Yorkshire from home in Teesside. And every day I was going down there, I thought to myself, I pictured myself winning the European title again, getting back to full fitness. And eventually I took big steps getting there, and I thought to myself, I'm not too far off. And to be honest with you, I really thought I could go and win it, but didn't pay off. And I thought throughout the season I was getting faster every race. I could still go and win, and it'd have been an amazing moment for me if I could win it for the third time. And to be honest with you, now it's got to the point where I'm not even running for myself now. I've got my 2.5-year-old son, and now it's just about like making my family proud and enjoying kind of the latter half of my career, to be honest with you. And I really felt like I could have medalled. And as I said, it didn't happen, but it was just the vision of potentially being able to win it for the third time in a row. And I thought I was close, and I fell slightly short, but that's it.
That having come so close to getting your third title must be like a great feeling to know that even let's say you were 50-60% fit compared to what you're used to being. In the back of your mind, that means you must be like, well, you know what, 100% I can go and knock these out back to back.
Yeah, for sure. It gives me the confidence now of moving forward into the summer and into next season and building on, if I can perform like that, literally so short after overcoming all that adversity, I think it gives me big confidence going into the summer, going into next year and the next couple of years of my career, to be honest. And there was lots of other stuff going on around the European Championships that people didn't understand as well. I got a Puma contract. I signed with Puma in the December, and 10 days before the European Championships, I didn't tell nobody in the interviews. I rolled my ankle training in Loughborough. I think I was slowing down on the Mondo track, on the Mondo lane. I was doing a speed session there in preparation for that. It was the day that it got announced that I'd be selected. And rolled my ankle. I couldn't walk for 4 days. I was on crutches. My ankle completely filled with water. It was a freak thing. I had to go and get a cortisone injection and the water drawn out of it. So I didn't train at all for 10 days before Glasgow. I couldn't even do a pre-meet. I couldn't even warm up the day before. And when I got there for the opening rounds of the 60 metres, I thought to myself, when I get on the track and put my spikes on, just pray that I'm not in pain, because I just rest it, iced it every day. So the preparation wasn't great, but because of that, the Puma spikes were running a little bit high on my ankle. And coming from an Achilles injury, I'd signed with a new brand, and I was only wearing the spikes for a few weeks. They didn't quite fit me properly. Not fit me properly. They were causing me pain where I'd had my injection and the water taken out and where I'd had the issue. So we spoke to Puma, and I said to them, my manager said to them the night before Glasgow, Richard's having massive issues with the spikes. He's going to have to wear an unbranded pair of spikes. And they said, okay. They said, right, as long as he covers them up, as long as there's no logo on them, that's fine. So if you've seen in Glasgow, I had an all-white pair of spikes on. The next day, when I finished fourth and didn't win the title, Puma called me up and said, we're cancelling your contract. So I lost my Puma contract, even though 2 days before that, the Puma track and field, the head of that, Nicholas, told me that it was okay to wear them in Glasgow. So
wait, you got the contract in December, and you lost it in March?
Well, actually, my contract started in January, I lost it within 8 weeks. And to me, it was quite upsetting because they told me if they'd have said, right, you're not allowed to wear these spikes, I would have wore the Puma spikes, but I thought to myself, right, I'm defending my title.
And you had a good reason for not wearing them as well.
I had a good reason. I just came back from Achilles surgery and I'd rolled my ankle. I'd had an injury 10 days before, and they said that it was okay for me to do. So that was disappointing. But you get over it. There's so much adversity I've overcame in my life that stuff like that I'm not really too fazed about. It is what it is. That's the nature of the sport. There's a business side of the sport, and the sportswear companies, British Athletics, the agents, the managers, the meat promoters. At the end of the day, it's just business, and you've just got to roll with the punches, really.
So as soon as that kind of, like, how did you find out? Was it through like an email, or did your manager tell you? And then what was your thought process from there? Like, was it just like, okay, you know what, I need to like hit up a few different companies that do athletic stuff, or was it more like a, I've had this already. With Nike, I'm fine. I can do my own stuff for a bit and just keep ticking over until then. How important is the sponsorship to you? In terms of gear.
The sponsorship's good. Obviously, you get paid from the sportswear contract. So anyone that's listening, some people think that when you're sponsored by a company, you just get
free shoes.
They're actually paying you. So it's not like, oh, I'm decided I want to be with that company because they've got the best clothes. It's basically who gives you the best contract, really. And I thought, I just thought to myself, okay, it is what it is. I can't control that. Quite disappointed with it. I felt like they handled it really, really bad. I don't think athletes should get treated like that. I think the way that they handled it was pretty poor. But I thought to myself, if I perform well in the summer, hopefully I'll get signed with another company. As of yet, I'm not, but if I run fast, stuff like that gets taken care of anyway.
You know what? That brings me on to a nice, really topic about the Diamond League.
Yeah.
You know, we had a conversation last week with one of the other athlete, Ruben. Brilliant interview. And he kind of said, you know, if you this week you run 998, you go to Diamond League.
Yeah.
And then if you get to Diamond League, you don't perform well enough, you don't go to the next one. How do you expect athletes to go through that motion? Because you cannot be expected to run under 10 seconds every time you run or compete, because sometimes wind, there's so many other things that goes into it, and traveling. Like, how do you because I know you've been in most of these competitions a long while as well. How do you go through that process, with the Diamond Leagues, the league meetings, or you went to Switzerland?
Yes,
Luzern. How do you deal with all those adversities, really?
Yeah, so basically, if you were to go out and perform massively, you probably will get into a Diamond League. When I won the World Championships in 2014, I kind of got invited to most of the Diamond Leagues that season. But after the indoor season, I got injured, I got ill. So the first few Diamond Leagues that I'd done, I was running 10.2. So after performing a bit subpar in Rome, Oslo, my manager kind of said, right, we need to drop you into a few lower competitions. But I still went on to the Glasgow Diamond League and a few others. But it's just kind of, there's a lot of pressure on you, and I think you've just got to accept that it is a business, and if you're not performing, you're not going to get into the meetings. You've just got to kind of roll with it, really. And as I said, it is tough because there's so many fast people coming through, and there's so many different managers within the sport, and they've all got star sprinters, and they all want to have a bid off to get their athletes in the Diamond League. And basically, you've got there's quite a lot of top managers. They've all got their stables of athletes. A lot of them run Diamond Leagues. They're promoters themselves. So a lot of it is how good your manager is. Can you get into that competition? And then once you're in there, can you keep performing well enough?
It's kind of like a game.
Keep staying at that.
In that league.
And if you don't run as well, then you're going to drop off from into the Diamond League, and then you're going to have to go into like the EAP meetings, the European Athletics Classic meetings, World Challenge meetings, anywhere where there is. But sometimes some of the smaller meetings can pay you higher appearance fees than the Diamond Leagues.
Seriously?
Yeah, because you could have in the Diamond League, you could have 8 men who've all ran sub 10. And they might only want to pay the top 3 or top 4 an appearance fee, but you could be a sub 10 runner, or for example, like myself, someone who carries a lot of titles, and a smaller meeting might want to pay you an appearance fee, which you won't get at a Diamond League. So sometimes you might think, right, I'm going to choose this meeting because it's not the Diamond League. You've got a high chance of winning that competition. The conditions could be better. It could be a faster track, and you're getting guaranteed money, as opposed to if you're not ready, jumping right in the fire.
That's interesting.
And having to perform in a Diamond League, and just for the sake of going to it, because it's Diamond League. People want to be there, but you can actually make more money at some of the smaller meetings.
See, that now gives me a kind of different outlook to when I see certain athletes at certain meetings now, because now I'll be thinking, oh, well, maybe they're not here because of that, or whatever. But thank you for giving us that insight to see why you kind of miss certain meets and then just go run in a more, let's say, like a championship. If we compare it to football, if you say Prem and then championship, if you do something like that.
So with the idea of that, would you say you would like more meetings like that in the UK? Because we don't tend to get a lot of big meetings.
Valley, on a Wednesday.
Tuesday. I'll probably end up doing one of them myself.
Would you like British Athletics to have more of these competitions, do more events where you can actually earn more money in the country without having to travel an hour, 2-3 hours away? I think we would. I think, sometimes with British Athletics, their priority is for you to win an Olympic medal. Nothing else counts. And it's kind of like you're putting lottery funding. Your priority is to win an Olympic medal. If you're not capable of winning an Olympic medal, or they think you're not going to win an Olympic medal or capable of winning one, you're off funding. But that's because UK sports indication of success, they base it. That's the only thing they can measure it on, Olympic medals. And if we don't get Olympic medals, all those people in British athletics,
they start to lose their jobs. We're the gladiators on the front line.
Yeah.
We're getting paid much less than some of the staff. What do you get maximum on lottery funding? 20 odd grand when most of the coaches, performance directors, all these people, the physios, everyone, they're getting paid way more than us. And they want us to perform so they can keep their jobs. But the day we stop performing, the day we get injured, is the day we stop making money. And the day you retire, it's like, thanks, well done, thanks for the medals, thanks for securing our job. See you later. Well, good luck with life.
Yeah, we'll put you on BBC at some point in a few years.
Someone else will come in.
If you talk well, if you've got the right image, if your face fits, that type of thing. But in terms of competitions, so there's been a few times we've been at the World Relays and we haven't been able to run the 4x2, where if we ran the 4x2, we would have made massive money. And in terms of other competitions, we have like the City Games. And that's actually in my hometown of Stockton-on-Tees in Teesside this year. It's not in Newcastle, so that's massive for me. I'm the poster boy for it. I'm leading all the promotion on it. And the City Games, they've actually been my biggest earners. I've been paid lots of money for appearance fees. I've been paid tens of thousands to turn up for the races there. So the City Games for me,
that's quite close to your chest.
They've paid me lots. They've paid me big appearance fees just to turn up and run. And that's bringing the crowds and the spectators to the athletes close and bringing the athletes to the city in close range for the spectators and fans to see exactly how fast we're running, how high they're jumping, the hurdlers, pole vaulters, and it's incredible for the fans to see that close range. I think we need more events like that to showcase our talents, and I think that becomes more impressive. Whereas if you're in a Diamond League, I love the Diamond League, I love the concept of athletics, but if we want to engage more fans, I think we need to start taking it to different cities across different environments and things like that. And I think we could do with more, because there's probably 10 meetings in Switzerland a year where you can go and make money, big competitions, world-class fields. In England, we've only got the 2 Diamond Leagues and the City Games, whereas I believe we should have a few more meetings, Grand Prix, and it's not just up to British athletics. You guys could go and think, right, you know what, we're going to host, we're just going to try and go and find loads of big sponsorship deals, big companies, and say, right, we're going to bring the best athletes in the world to wherever. Could be Lee Valley, could be anywhere, could be in the centre of London on a street games. And if those companies involved, you could get a big budget and then you could pay all the stars to come. But there's nobody doing it. I think that's what's happening around Europe. There's just, people who've got their heads together and thought, right, we're going to put on a big competition, we're going to get the TV involved, and we're going to bring in loads of
I think that's one of the biggest problems, isn't it? It's like you need the TV program, to pretty much be there for most people to kind of want to go. Like, I think a few years ago, was it last year or the year before, I was watching the British trials and it was quite painful seeing so many empty seats. And considering you watch, a lot of the Americans' collegiate system, the games literally is packed stadium. But how do we get interest? Like, where, surely there must be a way.
Firstly, where they're concerned, everything in America is a big sport. Their smallest sport is still going to be big. Whereas off with here, it's like, if it's not this, we're not really interested. Basketball is a big thing in America, but over here, unless you're really into it, you're not really seeing it. Unless you're into athletics, you might just flick on the TV and it happens to be on. I had a
conversation with someone in uni, and it was like, we only care about athletics every 4 years, which is kind of true, because everyone only watches the Olympics. People don't realize you have the Europeans, the worlds, people kind of forget till the Olympics comes. But that is to change. Because if we need more athletes to compete, more money in the sport, that has to change. And, what can we do? Well, what can British athletics do, UK sport, to try and improve that? Because we need a way for this sport to get bigger. Because we are getting a lot of talents. I mean, we've got probably the best group of athletes at the moment.
By far.
Coming through. They're all 24, 25, The next few years is going to be massive. But we need more sponsorship for those athletes. We need them to stay in the sport. Because there's been a few people where, they've been so big coming up to their under 23s and you don't hear about them anymore. Because they kind of think, do I want to work? Do I want to carry on with this? They struggle. And we need a way for us, to help you guys, to say the least, to promote the sport. In the UK especially.
It is one of those things which, you know, as athletes, we always have this conversation. What would we like more? Well, ultimately, we'd all love to get paid more for competitions. For some of the best people in the world, in the purest sport on earth, you can do really well. You can make lots of money from this sport, but it's kind of like you'll only make that when you're doing well. And to make more money, we need more exposure. We need more competitions. We need the sport itself needs to, you know, come across as more appealing, more exciting. And I'm not sure how you're doing that. And, you know, other things which impact that is like sponsorships. You're only allowed one logo on your vest, so that stops you from making more money. Because if you could have 10 logos on your vest, it's more money, more money that you can pull in. Whereas that's a bit of a block on us. But
you get taped off straight away. They're taped off straight away.
Effectively, they're basically capping your pay. As such.
Yeah. And
so it's like they don't want you. They want you to perform and make Britain look good, but they don't want to make yourself look good or be financed.
We're capped a little bit. It's like it's crazy. Like the Olympics is one of the biggest. It's the biggest sporting event in the world, but there's no money involved in it. So you can become the Olympic champion, but there's no prize money. But look how many sponsorship, how much money is the IOC making? It's incredible. Yet there's not £1 given to an athlete for prize money for being the best on the planet.
Seriously?
There's no prize money for that. You'll get money from your sportswear contract. So if you won the Olympics, you'd make loads of money in your contracts, and you'd get your big appearance fees on the circuit and private sponsors. But from the Olympics, there's no.
And you can imagine money. 4 years. 4 years. Of hard work, and you get to that level. You get to the final. You know, anything can happen in the final, and you know, you come out of it, and you're thinking, "Well, I've been in the Olympics, but what have I got out of it?"
Your bank account has nothing to show for it.
You know, oh my god, because I've been in the Champions League final, and then coming out and going, you know what, I came second, but you know, I go about 10 mil.
But you know, ultimately, there's not money directly from them. But if you became Olympic champion, you're going to make
you'll make it from
sources, interviews, and stuff.
And there's loads of other things. Whereas World Championships, you win big prize money. You know, you win loads of prize money, and then knock on things happen. That 2014, I probably had £20 in my bank account before I went to the World Championships. I left making way over six figures that year immediately. That's from you know a combination of prize money, appearance fees, contract sponsors, things like that. So you can do very, very well. But to think that there's actually no prize money in the Olympics when there's prize money, the CrossFit Games has the prize money. Do you know what I mean? Come on. And you're talking about the best athletes on the planet are not getting paid to be the best in the world.
People in
the Olympics. When all the people in the suits high up, they're the ones who are bringing in all the money. They're getting paid more. We're like modern day gladiators, I always say.
Because you can imagine, if I organised the Olympics, I'd probably get more money than some of the athletes.
100%, you can only imagine.
Thinking about it that way. So like, you know, if I'm a kid right now sitting there, I would just be going, you know what, rugby looks like a fun sport. Rugby looks like it, but you know, we are in the sport for a reason. You know, everyone wants to push themselves to see how quick you can go. You know, boats are sort of raised the standards so high that now everyone wants to get as close as they can. Everyone is like, you know, I coach a lot of kids now, and a lot of them just say, "Oh my god, I'm 2 seconds off the world record." You know, that feeling of putting it down, and people don't realize you might be running 10.5. That's quick.
That's rapid.
It's a really quick time. And we had a video the other day of the American footballers doing the 40-meter dash. And look at the crowd for that. You can imagine how much they want or they got for that kind of event. We need to set up some events, you know, for our athletes as well.
Do you think maybe in the next couple of years they should do a thing where they have the American footballers go up against track stars? So they pick like, I don't know, maybe the top 3. You do like a league thing. So then at the end of that, the top 3, they then go to do that, and then obviously the winner from that, it could be a team thing. So I don't know, it gets split between
because it's a winter sport, American football, isn't it? So
You know what? It's banging. Marquise Goodwin, the long jumper.
Yeah.
He won $1 million the other day for winning a 40-yard dash against a handful of picked other American footballers.
Yeah.
Because people just wanted to see who was the fastest. $1 million for winning a 40-yard race.
He can retire.
Yeah, like Marquise Goodwin, he's a great athlete, incredible footballer, pretty quick sprinter, but there's probably 200 sprinters on earth that'll beat him.
Yeah.
And some of those.
Because the best one at the moment is when everyone goes, you know what, footballers are quicker. They're not.
Did you see the video of Ronaldo trying to come out the blocks the other day? Come on, man! Like, I think to myself, and there's been a few times I've been down like the football clubs and this and that. Or you're here. I've been doing lots of work with the kids. I've been going into the community. I've been doing loads of school visits recently.
Yeah.
And my old teacher, I was in the school yesterday actually. He said, "Yeah, I'd done it in 10.6." I said, "He said, oh."
Hand time.
He said, yeah. He said, I said, "You
Hand
never
time,
do it
8
in
meters.
10.6." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I was fitter then. Like I was only 14." So you'd be the fastest 14-year-old in the history of probably Europe. And if you'd done that, you'd have probably went on to do special things. Oh, no. And you're just like, come on, get a grip, man. Don't do that. But ultimately, I think, you see the footballers and things like that.
Call them out.
That would engage people.
Call them out.
I done one with Hector Bellerin. He started doing all this tweets years ago. And I was sat down, me and James Ellington, we were about to go training in Florida. And he said, "Why don't you challenge him?" And I thought, you know what, I will. So I got on the Twitter and I just come up with any sum. I thought, right, I'll put 30k on. And I said, I'll challenge him at 30k. Basically, the loser has to. I didn't want to win his 30k. We could have made it a much bigger fee. 30,000 to them is not a lot of money. We could have even went for 100 grand, 80 grand, whatever money, because we'd be that confident of beating them.
Yeah,
it would be almost impossible for them to beat unless we pulled up with a hamstring injury.
Yeah,
we could jog and beat them. They're great footballers, incredible at what they do. But that's like that's like our relay team thinking, right, we can go and beat Liverpool in a football match just because we're fast. Yeah, it's not that simple. So they're great at what they do. They are fast compared to a normal human being, but they're not compared to sprinters. We're born with extreme talent, and we've worked so hard and gone through so much to be in this position. We fine-tuned everything: technique, nutrition, look, mental things. There's so much that you have to go through to be an elite. It's a fine-tuned thing. But imagine how many people you would get attracted if we said, right, we're going to take Cristiano Ronaldo, Hector Bellerin, Adama Traore,
Bale,
some of the fastest
things,
Gareth Bale, and Mbappe, and we're going to put them in a diamond league, or we're going to bring the Great Britain relay team, and on a football pitch in Wembley Arena, they're going to see who can win the race. Imagine how many people you would get, and that'd be another way.
You'd probably fill out the stadium.
Get more exposure.
And then we'd get more credit for what we do because we'd beat them by 10 metres, 15 metres maybe.
Even more.
And then that would bring exposure to our talents and our sport. And I think things like that need to happen. Maybe, this year at the Indoor Grand Prix, they had the BBC report, they give him a lane in the qualification rounds. Give lane 1 and lane 8 to 2 sports stars, the fastest rugby player in the country, the fastest footballer, and see how quickly they come off the camera and how fast we leave them from the blocks. Our sport needs more respect, and I'm always somebody who tries to stand up with it. I got Carlin Isles, that Carlin Isles. There was something going on Twitter, and he was going on the other day, and it's like, come on, man, like, you're very fast.
But you're not.
But you're not us.
But you're not a world class sprint. He's very, very fast. He's ran 6:65, but 6:65 will not qualify him to represent the country. And there's, again, 200 sprinters on earth can run faster than that every year.
Yeah.
So amazingly quick for rugby, but to claim you can beat the fastest man on the planet, come on, get a grip.
It's like CJ Uja at the live feed. You know what was the funniest live feed I've ever watched? Shout out CJ. And someone kept commenting, Walker will be you in a sprint. And he got so angry.
Listen, I think when Walcott first kind of came onto the football scene, he ran 11.5. It was 11.5 at 14, and then a few years later, he alone had run 10.8 or 10.7, and he was like, all right, he's quick, but you can see he ain't that quick. And I kind of look and think, there are a few sprinters that have come up over the years where they're not technically sound, but they've run some quick times. There was a guy, I don't know if you were in the squad at this point, there was a guy called, I think, Chris Williams, and he was from up north. This guy was rapid. He ran about 10.7, and he was scrappy as hell. Came from football.
Yeah.
But Now I'm like,
Yeah.
would you be that quick now?
Well,
Would you be that quick then?
You know what? There's a guy from like up north as well. He just came into his sport about a year ago, and he's only 10.6.
Right.
He's been in his sport a year.
Yeah.
And only 10.6. You know, but that's natural talent. That's just
definitely, yeah.
pure. I don't think he's been in football.
Yeah,
I just think he just came to the track and had a go, and he's doing
naturally quick,
some
yeah,
big things,
yeah.
and. We would like the city games.
Yeah.
Bring like a Rashford in, You're in Manchester, bring like a footballer in.
Yeah.
The amount of crowd that will go in, the amount of investment that will go into because people want to see them.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, Rashford is probably assuming the quickest in United. Bring it to the city games, get some sprinters in.
Yeah.
You guys,
And if they complain, give them the money, because if you pay the footballers a big appearance fee to come and run, the crowds will come.
the crowd will come
It's stuff like that, but
work itself out.
yeah, it's definitely something where, I'll always stand up for our sport and defend it, because it's something which is like, any sprinter, especially at the top level, if you're running under 10.2 seconds in the 100 meters, it takes a hell of a lot to get to that type of level.
That's like 6 days a week training, if not 7, trying to know the wrong thing, do the right movement, instead of walking somewhere, you want to just, take a car because you don't want to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And that preparation phase, coming up now is the British trials in August.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for that. How is that preparation going?
Yeah, preparation's going great. It's I've ran a few more 200. I've run 1 200 this year. The weather wasn't very good, and I don't know what event I'm going to run. This weekend I'll run the 100 meters in the 4x1. Mm-hmm. The week later I'll run in Switzerland over 200 meters, and depending on what event it looks more likely that I'll qualify in, I'll push towards that. And it's that's as simple as it is. My training, I feel like it's going great. I'm happy. I'm over the moon just to be back on the track and competing injury free and enjoying my season. And trust me, in any other athlete, I'll tell you, nobody performs well when they're not enjoying it. Nobody performs well when they're anxious or they're tense. Every single athlete in the world performs better when you're happy and when your mind is clear and when you're enjoying it, no matter what. Yes, sprinting is, it's a big ego sport. There's a lot of egos. You've got to have that, little bit of fight in you and that little bit of arrogance and things like that. But ultimately, everyone's going to perform better when they're relaxed. Every sports person, I've got friends who are world-class boxers, and they always perform better when they're completely relaxed. You watch the best people in the world at what they do. They're relaxed when they do it. Yeah. All of my best performances, every time I've won a big title, I've been unbelievably relaxed and just in the moment and with a clear mind. No pressure on myself, no real, sense of urgency, no pressure, no thinking about what other people think, just completely clear-minded in the moment, ready to go. And at the moment, I'm in a good mindset, and I think the thing that's brought that on is because I've struggled the last 2 years to complete a season, and now I'm getting quicker race by race, and I'm enjoying it. So I think I'll get quicker race by race, and that's that's where I'm at the moment. But I think I'll end up having a good season this year and build on that again going into next year.
Do you think that the more successful you get, the more kind of stressed out you get? Because when you're like teetering around the top, you are quite relaxed with that, because I'm there but I'm not there. I've got that urgency to get there, but I can relax more. But then when you started winning like international titles, did the stress then come onto you, where it's like, oh, I actually got something to my name that other people want? Is that when the stress kind of came in, where you weren't as relaxed and everything's kind of
obviously you won the European indoors twice,
and I won the world indoors in 2014
around the same time. So you kind of went through went through a really good 3 years.
Even 4 years, I would say 2014 I won the world championships, became world champion at the 60 meters. And that's a big thing. How many? Who's competing now from Britain? Who's an individual world champion?
What was that like?
That was like
649 as well.
Yeah, that was incredible. And as I said before, that I was nearly lost to the sport a few times over my teenage years.
We'll
go into that, and that's but let's talk about that moment particularly. I started the season, year before that, almost lost to the sport, was going to completely go down another route in life. Decided to get back. Had a decent summer of 2013, started working with Rainer Ryder, who now is not working with British Athletics. I went on my first training camp to South Africa, started training with Harry, with James, in the same group as Christian Taylor. Rainer was around, Tiffany Porter, loads of other world-class athletes, Shara Proctor. Everybody was in there. And suddenly I was in the right environment. I was getting physio, I was going to sleep early. Rainer got me eating right. He switched me on up here. He made me believe in my talent.
Yeah.
And my talent was something that's never been denied. I grew up in the Northeast without really any good structure or coaching. Yeah, and I won 2 English schools titles training once a week.
Definitely going into that. So hold that thought.
Yeah, we'll go back into that. But he then suddenly made me believe in my talent. He got me moving right with good technique. I was running a little bit raw, as we said before. Yeah. And suddenly, as the camp went on, I started growing in confidence. And he said to me, I've got you a manager called Alphonse. He wants to work with you. Get you a few 60-metre races. And I thought to myself, the 60 metres, not really feeling it. I want to run more 200s. 200 was my preferred distance at the time. I went to my first race, 6:68. I spoke to her and I told you I don't want to do it. You told me I was in 6'5" shape. I'm in 6'68" shape. He said, right, go on to the next one. Went on, 6:63. I thought, I'm 200ths of a second off my PB. He said, just go to the British Championships next week. You run a PB, we'll leave it there. And then we'll happy focus on the season. Went to the British Championships, 6:65 in the heat, 6:58 in the semi-final. After the semi-final, I won it. And I said to Renna, buzzing. I ran 6.5.
Doing 60 now.
Yeah, and I thought that just means I'm in good shape for the 200. Yeah. He said, go into the final. Don't care. Went at the final, ran 6:53, and suddenly I ran 6:53. Desalu won 6:50. Me and Dwayne tied with 6:53.
Yeah.
And suddenly I thought to myself, 6:53 is one of the fastest time in the world. Suddenly, now I'm a really good 60-metre runner, and I got selected for the World Championships. When I went in there, as I said, I had no money in my bank account, nothing. It was the first time I'd ever represented Great Britain at senior championships in an individual.
How old were you at that point?
I was 24. And I went into it completely just thinking to myself, I'm going to fully embrace this championships. I'm going to completely go into it relaxed. And I know for a fact that I'm in great shape. And I'm going to enjoy the rounds. I'm going to enjoy the build-up. I'm going to enjoy the travel to the competition. I'm going to soak it all in.
Yeah.
Because I've seen over the past so many athletes get there, the first opportunity, and tense up and put too much pressure on themselves. I thought to myself, I'm going to go there. And Rainer was on my side, and to be fair, he was incredible.
Was he there?
He was there, and he got into my mind. He was coaching me absolutely incredible. I felt like I could run through a brick wall. Some of the things he says, he's just got that. He can say those, he says the right things at the right time. And I got there, I ran through, I had Nesta Carter in the heat. Someone who I would never dream of the year before. He just got a bronze behind Bolton Gatlin in Moscow in the World Championships. Yeah. He was in my heat. Rainer said to me, okay, go and beat the guy. Just go and fucking beat the guy. And I was like, and I was like, he's like, fuck that guy, man. I'm thinking, sorry for the swearing.
It's all right. It's all right. You're good to go.
So I thought, all right. So I went in, didn't think nothing. I won the race, 6:53, equaled my personal best. I didn't think nothing of it. Then suddenly I got back, checked my Twitter, everyone was commenting, oh, Richard's doing well. Do you think you get me this and that? And then I started to get a bit more following, and Rennie said, hey man, turn your fucking phone off. Don't get involved in all that shit. So anyway, switched my phone off, went into the next day, and I lost the semi-final. Nesta Carter beat me.
Yeah.
And he ran 6:51, or I ran 52 PB. I was in the World Championship final. Anyway, I went through to the mixed zone, and I remember Maurice Green came up to me and said, you were looking great, good luck. And I thought, this guy's my hero. How does he even know I am?
Yeah.
This is my hero anyway. I used to get nervous when I was watching him running. He's telling me that he thinks I can win it. Anyway, I went down, put my music on. I slept for about 45 minutes in the call room.
Yeah.
After that, Rainer came and tapped me. Andy Burke, the physio, gave me a bit of massage, loosened me up.
Yeah.
Came back, he stood me in the middle of the warm-up area with Brycey, the biomech, and biomechanist Brycey came over and said, where do you think you need to improve in this race? I was ranked 4th out the semi-final times. He said, what do you think you can do? I said, I think I might be able to get a medal here. Mm-hmm. And that would change my life. And Brycey said, right, at what point in the race do you feel like you need to make it up? And I'm thinking, I said, maybe in the middle of the race. And he said, right, look at this piece of paper. He brought out the stats. He brought all the splits out, 0 to 30, 30 to 60. He looked at them. He said, look at 30 to 60. I was top of the list, flying 30 of about 260, 259. And he said, you're the fastest in the field out of the heats and the semis between 30 and 60. And I said, right. He said, but you're 400s down on the people who've ran quicker than you to 30 metres. And he said, so you think you can get a medal? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm telling you now, him and Rainer said to me, get to 30 metres, 200s quicker, and you're going to be world champion. And I thought, simple instructions. And I thought to myself, just get out to 30 metres. I went into that call room, you know, against people who were my heroes, people who were my idols. Dwayne Chambers, I had a picture of him in my bedroom wall from when I was 10 years old. I met him and I was shaking like a little kid. I'd never beat him in my life. I had a signed picture of him in my cap in my bedroom wall when I met him when I was 10 years old, and a picture of him in my bedroom all the way up until I was about 17 years old. And then suddenly I'm lining up against him in a World Championship final. Nestor Carter, Marvin Bracey, Femi Ogunodi, all these amazing athletes on there.
Very quick that year.
All incredible athletes. Su Bing Chan, Chinese guy, he was in there. It was a loaded field, and I just went in there. And I can remember just before I was so relaxed. I was just buzzing that I got there, and I had simple instructions: just get out to 30. And I wasn't thinking World Championship final, this or that. I just was in there so relaxed and so in the moment, and just so confident that I was going to run my fastest time. I couldn't say I got beat in the semi-final, so I didn't know what the other guys were going to do. But one thing I knew, that I was going to run the best time of my life, and if I'd done that, I'd be hard to beat. And before I went out, I just thought to myself for a few moments. I thought to myself, out of all the adversity you've gone through in your life, everything you've got to tuck here, you've gone through to get here, this moment can change your life completely forever. And then after that, I thought, right, this is it. Cleared my mind. Happy mode, got all the thoughts out, thought to myself, right, get out there. I went out there, and I can't remember anything else apart from crossing the line and thinking I'd won. Had my hands on my head. I was looking back and I thought to myself, I've won. Put my hands up and I thought, I'm world champion. And I thought, nah, don't celebrate. Somebody might have dipped you in the corner. Somebody might have dipped you. And I thought, this is. And then I looked up and I could see Luke Cutts and Robbie Grabbars, and they're waving the Great Britain flags and they're pointing at me. I'm thinking, me? And I'm thinking, what? So I'm walking back, looking up at the scoreboard, everyone's and it flashed up Richard Kilty, world champion. I remember the song Tina Turner, Simply the Best, started blasting out. I dropped to the floor, laid back, closed my eyes, and I thought, please, pray, let this be real. I sat up, opened my eyes, the cameras were flashing, they were giving me flags, and I thought to them, I didn't know what to do. I was stunned. I was like, world champion. I was doing my lap of honour, and I was confused. I was dazed. I was like, is this me? And people were high-fiving me, world champion. I thought, this is crazy. This is what I used to see on TV when I was a kid. And it was a moment that I'll never forget, and it'll be a moment which is, it's apart from the day my son was born, probably the biggest moment of my life, and it was a massive shock to me and everybody else around me. I was a 66 to 1 odds on to win that.
Should have bet.
Yeah, I should have bet. And as far as I know, nobody bet. Nobody bet on me, as far as I know.
You see that moment where your biomechanist and Rainer Ryder said to you, if you change this, you've won. Did you when you get nervous and you get that kind of almost sick, your stomach drops?
Yeah.
Did you have that feeling? Because that's such a big thing to be told just before you've gone in. Because you said how relaxed you were, but just that exact moment, when they told you that, what went through your head? How did you feel? Did you kind of go like jelly?
Would you know what the thing is? If someone was to tell me that would happen now, I would have thought that would be my response. But for some reason, I had this like a confidence and just this unemotional.
Everything was going right.
Everything was just going right. You have those days, and when you guys will speak, and you'll be speaking to so many different athletes, they'll probably tell you the same thing. Things just feel right, and you feel comfortable in that environment. And suddenly, if someone was telling me, if you do this, you're going to be world champion, that would have seemed alien to me 3 months before that. But in that moment, I thought to myself, okay, like I felt comfortable, I felt relaxed with it, and it felt right. And I thought, and after, not even now, I think that must have, I don't know how I was so confident at that time, but I was just happy. I was in the moment, clear-minded, and I didn't get emotional with it. I just thought to myself, this is just a job what I've got to go and do. And it's quite crazy to think that even happened now.
I do want to touch on the whole 2015, 2017, because those are also championships that you've won. But I also want to talk about like what brought you in, because you mentioned where we've almost lost you to the sport, and I want to find out which direction you was going in. Was it to another sport or to another job? But the first question is, what brought you in
to the sport?
Yeah, what brought you in? Was it schools? Was it just, you know, you saw it on TV and it was like, yo, that looks kind of cool, I want to go down the track and run?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm quite open with it now. I've never really done podcasts. I've done interviews, and I think it's quite common knowledge that, you know, from some interviews that I've done, that I grew up in rough circumstances.
Yeah.
Brief history, both of my parents have been to jail at some point when I was a young baby. My mum was in prison. For the first few months that I was born, my mum was in prison. So I think I spent a few months alone with my mum in prison. A lot of my friends and family as such had been in and out of prison, just, you know, with the environment which we grew up in, not their wrongdoing. Sometimes it's just an environmental thing where it happens. And I'd always been fast. I was always quick. I was always racing people in the streets when I was a kid. My parents, my friends, I can always remember from my earliest memories being able to run faster than the other people around me.
Yeah.
In school, I always won sports days, but I travelled around a lot of schools when I was a kid.
Okay. How come?
Well, you know, my family, I was homeless as a young kid. When I was 5 years old, my family fell into some financial difficulties, and my mum, God bless her, I completely love my mum, but she'd be the first to accept and you know, admit my mum had issues with drugs and alcohol, and I completely love my mum. She's my mum, and I love her dearly, but she had her issues with drugs and alcohol, and eventually we ended up living in a homeless hostel when I was 5 years old, which meant we ended up getting moved about by like the councils to different areas, different schools. So it was hard moving schools, trying to make new friends all the time, and the areas
especially at that age as well.
Yeah, that age it's hard, and but all that was hard, it was a bit of an adventure, you know. As a kid, you know, there's so many people around the world that have it much harder than we do in Great Britain. Even if we were homeless, we still had a roof over our head. We had food. You know, some of my friends in athletics who grew up in certain parts of Africa have way tougher ordeals than we do, so you can't complain at times. But in terms of British circumstances, it was about as tough as it gets. And so I moved around a lot of schools, but when I went to one school specifically, when I was 10 years old, it was my first day at school, school sports day. I won it. The teacher was massively involved in sports and she really encouraged me. Then I won the county championships, and she was like, wow, you're the fastest kid in the county.
Your first day at school was sports day?
Yeah, at my new school, Pentland Primary School. And you know, anybody who's listening who's ever been to a new school, like any of you guys, it's quite nervous your first day at school, even though I was quite a confident kid. First day was sports day, and I made friends straight away because I won sports day. And they were like, wow, the new kid's really, really fast. And so I won that, and then I went on a few weeks later to win the county championships.
Okay.
And I had success early on. Then the Olympics was on in Sydney at the time. Maurice Green became my hero. Maurice Green and Dwayne Chambers. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And when I realised I was quick, then I was like, I want to join the athletics club. And the coaches wanted me to go down from winning the primary school county championship. So I joined the athletics club, and I think I won my first 100 or so races, and I won. So I've always been talented. My first 6 weeks in the sport, I think I was one of the fastest, or the fastest under 11, in the country over the 60 metres. So I was always naturally really, really quick.
Yeah.
Throughout my teenage years, I went on to win the English schools twice, 2006 and 2007, which is very, like, when was the last time you heard of a sprinter coming from Middlesbrough Teesside? Yeah. It's rare. We have coaches, but we don't have the most amazing environment that produces sprinters like London does. The talent pool here, and the coaches here, the coaching facilities, Lee Valley, place like that, the environment. Everyone's switched on to sprinting in London. There's a culture.
Yeah, it seems like it's growing as well, because there's quite a lot of people coming in, you know, from different backgrounds, just with that good coaching backgrounds compared to the North. Yeah, which is weird, because when you're in the North and you succeed, it seems like it's much of a big deal than coming from the South. Yeah,
from London. Yeah, whereas everyone, like, it's common knowledge now. Everyone's sharing their ideas, coaches, the talent's coming through. This is a conveyor belt of talent down here in London. Up there, it's not. But another weird thing about my story, which I'll tell you on, involves another athlete. And throughout my teenage years, as I said, I won the English schools 2006 and 7 over the 100 metres. So that was my initial talent. I had success there. Went on to represent Great Britain as a junior.
Yeah.
When I was 14, in I ended up being homeless again. Social services got involved with my family, tore my mum and dad apart. My dad, without my dad, I would have never been where I am today. My dad stuck by me through thick and thin, even when times were tough. He went down the wrong path a few times in his life, and he knew he got involved in things, and he always wanted to push me away and put me in the right direction, even though we had family issues with my mum's drug problems and alcohol problems. And I've got an amazing relationship with them both now. They've put their issues aside, and with me being in the position I am, I'm neutral, and I love them both. But we ended up being homeless again, growing up in all the rough council estates. I lived in a homeless hostel, and basically a homeless hostel is like a council block of flats where you've got a warden on. It's basically people who don't have a council home, or they don't have the money for a home, so you put them in these really dingy flats, usually with heroin addicts, crack addicts.
As a 14-year-old?
Yeah, refugees who came in. So sometimes it would be tough, not the nicest. There was me, my little sister Heidi, Jack and Luke, and my mum living in a one-bedroomed, dingy apartment. One day I was walking down the flats, and I bumped into a guy who was a Sudanese refugee. And my dad said to me, "Oh, there's a guy who said he's quite quick. He said he can do 2 meters something in the high jump." I was like, "All right." Met his name. He was called Rabbi Yusuf. Lived in the same block as me. That's Rabbi Yusuf, who's one of the fastest men in Europe. So me and Rabbi Yusuf lived in the same homeless hostel together in 2003. It's crazy. We went to the Olympics together. We share with each other in the World Championships, European Championships, Olympics. We were homeless in the same area of Middlesbrough at the same time. He was a Sudanese refugee fleeing from Sudan. I was a homeless kid from the area, and we were in the same block. It's crazy. And now me and Rabbi Yusuf, and I remember training with Rabbi in 2005, and we were both poor. We both, we both didn't have the greatest start in life, but we would be there in the pouring down rain. And I remember having a conversation with Rabbi week after week, and we'd be doing our cool downs after training. He was fast at the time. He was older than me. So sometimes when I'd run 200s with him, I'd run like the first 150 as he was training, and just run after him. We'd train hard. We'd be vomiting, putting the work in the track. But that's one thing we had. The character which built in people like us. We had that big character. We had that big heart, and we always knew one day things were going to change. And so we'd be training really hard together. And I remember being on the rainy nights at the track, and me and him saying, "You know what? Imagine what it would be like if we go to the Olympics. Imagine us representing Great Britain. We could go to these championships." We were kids then. And then, when we look back, it was only me and him on the track. The other kids would go, and we'd stay back, do extra work. We'd be out putting the work in when it was pouring down. This was that 15-year-old. He was 17. And we went on he went on to become one of the fastest men in European history, World Championship finalist, World Championship relay medalist twice. I went on to become world champion, double European champion, Commonwealth and European relay medalist, and we were homeless together as kids in the same area in 2004. It's crazy.
So you two must be like insanely close.
Yeah, we're good friends. We're really, really close friends. I see him a couple of times a week, and it's amazing the journey that we've been on. And throughout the late teenage years, there was a few years that I got distracted. A few years that I tried to go. I went through college. I wanted to go to uni, but I started for a little bit. I followed my coach, Jared Deacon, at Loughborough. I hated Loughborough. Didn't want to be there. Started arguing with my coach. Didn't enjoy the student lifestyle. I moved back up to Teesside. I got through the ages of like 19 and 22. I wasn't making no money from the sport. I didn't have the right environment to train in because all the top coaches were down in London, and it was like I'm training in Middlesbrough kind of by myself, and one of my training partners, Christian, who ended up running 10.49, really good sprinter. Just me training with him, going to the track, lifting, and there was brief spells where I'd done, I worked with a coach here, a coach there, and I kind of stalled at like 10.4, 10.3, 20.8 through the ages of like 19 to 21. But I wasn't living the life of an athlete, and then it was like, what do I do now? Where am I going with life? And to be honest with you, through the ages of 19 and 22, there was a few times that I narrowly avoided going to prison.
Seriously?
And it's and not that I'm a bad person. I go in now and I speak to kids. I've been to probably every single school in my area, and told the kids, look, especially from the deprived areas, from the council estates, I go and work with the community. I go and see the foster kids, the kids in the kids' homes, and I tell them there's always another way out. I grew up in your environment. I lived in the homeless hostel. I grew up in a council estate. I had no money. I nearly went down the wrong path a few times, thinking that was the right way. And I chose the right way, so there's always a choice. So I go in and I try and do my best for my community to inspire the kids to say, you know what, there's always a way out in whatever you choose to do. And there was a few times I nearly threw my ability away, and then there was a few times that I even had thoughts of, even when that was, so I thought, right, well, maybe I'll go in the Marines, maybe I'll go in the Army. I didn't know what to do. And you know, in the council estates, in the bad areas, in the tough areas like where I grew up in, it's common knowledge how they survive and stuff. And sometimes that environment, I couldn't really escape. I didn't have no money. I didn't have a penny to go and move down London. So eventually I got hold of a local sponsor in 2012 and I moved down with Linford. I trained with Linford Christie, and that was 2012, and I improved a lot because I was in the right environment, but I had no money. I was surviving in London on 500 quid a month. I don't know how. Yeah, how? Exactly. Exactly.
Like Bruno said,
I was sleeping on like Richard Strachan. He rented me a room in a house which he was sponsored by for very little a week. So I really thank him for that. And it was literally just, you know, I don't know how I survived. I had very little money, but I managed to get on the training camps. I managed to scrape up some money, and you know, things which I probably can't really even say how I did that. But I managed to get on training camps somehow. I managed to get money and get there, and I improved a lot. 2012 to not go on, I was running really quick, 20.5, 10.2 to open up with Olympic A standards. Anyway, I didn't have no money for physio. I was training really hard, had big hamstring injuries in the summer, and they didn't select me for the Olympics. And I went home and suddenly didn't get selected for the Olympics. I had no money to live in London. No lottery funding, no support, no contracts and out like that. Wasn't making a penny. I was at home sleeping between, you know, my dad's spare bedroom or my mum's settee in a council estate. And then I thought to myself, I've got to make some money. I've got to do something here. And through that period as well, you know, there was a few times where I nearly, you know, narrowly escaped going down the wrong path. And as I say, I understand a lot of people, even over my athletics career, you know, sometimes people might have said I've been a little bit impulsive or said the wrong things or upset people, but you know, that's my character, that's who I am. I'm sometimes misunderstood. You know, I'm sometimes very misunderstood in things, or I have been in the past, but I'm a council estate kid. I grew up to become impulsive and rely on my instincts to get me where I am, and I'm very instinctive, I'm very impulsive in everything that I do, and I've learned how to control that. But that's the environment I grew up in, and if people probably understood some of different people's background, we'd understand. And I've seen firsthand some of the things which can go on, and I understand how some people, you know, can be portrayed as bad, but sometimes people's environment are not the best, and sometimes people narrowly have another option. And to be honest with you, it was always my heart and my positive mind that I thought to myself, you know what, one day I was so relentless through that thing. I thought, no matter what, I'm going to find a way to make this work. And in 2013, I was suffering mentally. I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't know whether to go in the Marines or get a job or this and that. My education suffered. There was a few things that stopped me from doing certain things. I thought, what do I do with my life? I retired from the sport for 6 months. Wasn't allowed to go back down and train. Linford didn't have the money, no support from nobody. All the other athletes who had ran faster than in 2012, they were on lottery funding. They were training in Loughborough. Because I think, because I spoke out on not getting selected for the Olympics, they punished me by not supporting me. So I was just in Teesside in a council estate 2013. The year before I'd ran 2015, 10-1 summit. And I didn't even have a car, didn't have the money to go to the track, didn't have things like that. So I started running up the local hills, pushing my friends' cars, going to the local backstreet gym where I had a free membership, lifting the weights. And I thought, some way I'm going to make this work. And there was a few ways where I nearly went down the wrong path. which would have made me money, but it would have been a bad life.
Yeah.
It would have been a life which I never wanted to do. It's a life which I'd seen shot, in close range. I've seen friends go to prison. One of my best friends was in prison for a long stretch and hung himself in prison a few days before the London Diamond League in 2016. I've seen so many of my friends and family going out of prison, suffer with drugs and stuff. And I thought to myself, I've came too far, I've trained too hard to throw my talent away. And I thought to myself in 2013, no matter what, I'm going to make this work. Whether I have to run up the hills. I ran after my friend. One time my friend had a little 50cc motorbike. There was no one in my area who could keep up with me, so we'd go on the cycle path and he'd ride it and I'd run alongside him. People would be coming over on the parkway, listen, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be on his little motorbike, I'd be running after him, repeat 80-metre sprints, 120s.
I was literally thinking 80 meters.
Walk back, stuff like that. And it was crazy looking back, and I thought to myself, but that made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And no matter what, through that period there, it taught me to be relentless, and as cliche and as corny as it sounds,
It's paid off.
It made me into a stronger character. And 12 months later, from couldn't even afford a massage, couldn't afford to get to the track, no support from no one, no sponsor, nothing, no coach, nothing like that. 12 months later, I was world champion in the 60 metres. And it shows any athlete out there, you've got to be relentless. You never know how close you are to having a breakthrough. And that was that period, yeah.
That's such a storied version, and I'm actually quite glad that I asked you that question. Because now that's gonna give people a different insight to you. Anyone who watches this now is gonna be like, oh, well, we didn't see this side. We've just seen this guy. Okay, he's world champion. He's done this. He's done that. But then he's done this and this, and it's like, well, now guys, you've kind of seen more of a background to him. Going forward with that, with the perseverance and stuff, if you'd have gone down the wrong road, you would have never been able to do your 10:01 and your 9:92.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The day you saw the 9:92 come up on the clock.
Yeah.
Talk me through it.
Yeah, it was good, and I'm always someone that I'm proud of the fact that I'd done the 9:92, but it was wind assisted. You know what I mean? I'm not a sub 10 sprinter because it was wind assisted.
Yeah.
There's a few people who've ran sub 10 or ran 10 zeros. It's wind assisted. That's not your PB.
Yeah.
My PB is 10:01 legally.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's my PB. But still running that, initially I was shocked to see it.
Yeah.
And all of the races that day, there were 0 winds. If you watch the race on video, it's on YouTube. You can't hear no wind. Look at the trees in the background. Look at the flags. They're still. The other lad who won the race, he ran 9:89. But yeah, it obviously was wind assisted. That's what the wind gauge showed. But it was still a great run. And after that, I was ill for about 6 weeks. And
you ran so fast, you ran yourself sick.
Yeah. My flights got delayed.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people don't understand is, see, when you go to these diamond leagues or these competitions, or you're on the circuit, as we call it, sometimes you might race on the Saturday, and you've got a 6 a.m. flight the next morning. Mm-hmm. You might be 2 hours away from the airport. You might have to leave the hotel at 2:30 in the morning. And when you do that, it's you're knackered. You've raced. You've had a hell of a race. You've took your body somewhere where you never do.
Yeah.
You get no sleep. You're stuck in the airport connecting flights, and you're in there. And I got home and I was ill, and I had flight delays. I got home and I was ill for a bit, and I suffered in the Olympic trials that year because I was still a little bit ill, and I didn't run so great at the Olympic trials. But then a few weeks later, I started to get a bit healthier. Made the European final in Amsterdam. I ran 10:1 into a headwind. The other semi-finals had tailwinds. I won my semi-final, and I felt like I was in incredible shape. And in the final, they had a tailwind, so I would have definitely went 10:0 something, and it got won in 10:08. I was in lane 4. I got DQ for a 0.99 reaction, and I was gutted because I really felt like I was going to medal in that championships and run a super fast time. It wasn't to be. And then the week later, when I had a little bit of a tailwind and warm weather, I ran 10:01, and I went into the Olympics only as part of the relay team, but I was absolutely flying through that period. And that was my fastest year over the 100. And then the next year I built on that and won the Europeans. But yeah, it was a bittersweet season. I ran quick, but my timing And, you know, sometimes you can just be unlucky with things in the season.
Accept what it is when you get to the meet, you know.
Yeah.
We all get headwind, tailwind.
Yeah.
Still 100 meters.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Take it because everyone is going through the same thing.
100%. We all deal with it week in, week out.
It's just how you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Track and field, it's so funny, man, because no one ever sees the hardship. Like you're saying about like the flight delays and everything else.
Everyone thinks it's all smooth.
It's hard because when your flight's delayed just for a holiday, you're annoyed.
Oh yeah.
But when you're basically being denied recovery, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And I've had people say to me like, yo, you get flown out sometimes the day before the meet, sometimes on the day of that meet.
Yeah.
So you don't have time to acclimatize. You don't have time to get yourself ready.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's literally you get your bags to the hotel room.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, oh, hi sir, you're the minibus is outside to take you to the track.
Yeah.
So some of those performances that you see that aren't good, there is a lot of reason behind it.
Yeah, absolutely bang on. And there's so many stories that I could tell you. I remember one time I was getting ready for the Oslo Diamond League 200. Yeah. I ended up running really well. I ran 20:52 into a minus 1.8 and it was freezing. I had lane 8 and I think I just got beat by Lemaitre and Drobadouane, went on to win a bronze in the Worlds that year, but it was a good run. But I remember the day before I had a flight and my gap between the flights was about 50 minutes in Amsterdam. So I went from Teesside Airport to Amsterdam to Oslo.
Yeah.
And I remember there was queues and I literally had 5 minutes to get from like terminal E to D or something like that. And it was about a mile and I had my hand luggage and they were calling, they said, Mr. Kilty to the thing. I swear down, I had to run flat out. It must have been 800 metres. I made it to the gate. The lactic acid I had was incredible. I felt like I was going to vomit on the plane. I got onto the plane and the people must have been looking at me thinking, what's wrong with this guy? I was sweating. I was keeled over in my seat, breathing hard, and the people were looking at me like, what's wrong with this guy? He's crazy. And then the next day, you know, got to bed, woke up, done the Diamond League 200, and you know, most of the time the competitions, they do look after you, and you do the hotels are usually always amazing, food's usually amazing, it's usually simple, plain sailing, but there is times where things become difficult. I remember the first time, my first indoor meeting in 2016, it was a small one which Alphonse got me into before my success, and I remember getting into Paris airport, flight delays, then I missed the next one, had to wait on hold for the next one, got into the airport at like midnight. I thought, right, finally got there, and then the driver said, right, it's a 3-hour drive to I think it was to Mondeville in France, and I was like, wow. Not only that, he said, we're still waiting on another 3 athletes, we need to pick them up from the terminal. We were driving around, their flights got delayed, so we were stuck in this little tight minibus for, you know, another hour or two in the airport, then a 3-hour drive. You get there 4 o'clock in the morning, you're sharing with athletes that you don't know, and you're like, oh, this is a nightmare. Then you have to race. Another time in Gavado, it was actually when I ran the Windy 992.
Yeah.
Gavado is quite a small town, and the meeting, although it's a really top meeting, it probably doesn't have, you know, as much money as some meetings. So we stayed in a family-run hotel, and I arrived in the hotel, and I got to the room, and I went in, and there was a double bed which had like a metal cage around it, and then there was a single bed, and I looked, and Arthur Delaney from America, who I was racing against, was in the single bed, and Pavel Maslak was in the double bed. I was looking, thinking, it's not quite adding up here. So I went down to Alberto, who was the meeting director, and I said, Alberto,
there's 2 guys in my room.
And he looks at me and he goes, I'm not the hotel of the manager. I'm not the manager of the hotel. And I thought, what am I going to do? Like, what do we do? So me and Pavel Maslak are asleep, you know, in this thing. I remember rolling over a few times and like bumping into him, waking up, and we're just looking at each other, laughing, thinking, this is crazy. There was nothing we could do. We couldn't have slept on the floor because it was one of the, you know, like the marble floors. Yeah. And it was absolutely crazy. And then I like to have a nap on race day, but you can't have a nap because there's 2 of us, and it was weird. And Maslak will tell you that was funny, and it's so sharing a bed at times, you know, so there's most athletes have got a funny story, but sometimes it's not all as plain sailing as you think. The amount of flights that get delayed and this and that, and the travelling does tire you out. Sometimes it's not just, you know, one flight direct in. The closest airport to the competition could be 2 hours away. So you find yourself usually travelling for about 12 hours. By the time I drive from my house to Newcastle Airport, it's an hour. Then you're waiting in the airport, an hour flight to Amsterdam, then maybe a 2 hour flight from Amsterdam to wherever you're going, then another 2 hour drive to wherever the city is that you're competing in. You know, then your back gets stiff, you need physio, and then you've got to race the next day. So sometimes it is tough, and the younger athletes that are coming through, I would give them the advice to just try and not stress about it, because the more you stress about your own control, just make sure you got plenty of water, take your stuff for recovery, keep moving between flights, and don't get too stressed out about it, because sometimes you can't control it, and understand that most other people have been in the same boat at some point.
Speaking on young athletes, just want to ask you a couple of questions before you tail out of this one. Do you pay attention to the power of 10, like, and just see what's happening in England? Because I mean, back in the day, it was like athletics data where you could post your own times and you see some ridiculous things go up there. Now it's a lot more structured. Do you pay attention to, I don't know, like the under 17s and see what's going on and think, okay, you know, I might nudge this person a little message and say, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing really well. Blah blah blah, and just reach out to them. Yeah,
you know what? I do check it, and I do keep every couple of times a week. I go on the Power of 10 and say I've seen some incredible results from one of the under 17 lads ran 10.4, I think, at the English schools. Incredible, phenomenal, like absolutely crazy. And the talent, I think the English schools is an incredible system. I think it's absolutely amazing, and the talent out there which we've got in this country, we're producing sprinters like no tomorrow, and I do that. And I would just say, if there is any athletes out there, I've got all the time in the world for people. As I said, off my own back, I go into the local schools. I've been in the youth prisons to talk to the kids, get them engaged, hopefully change the way that they're thinking, and help them, change their ways of life. The foster care homes, our coach, I welcome anybody. When I'm training at home, I have people just from the area, a few young boys and girls. I let them join in my sessions. I said, come on. I give them advice. I take my time out. I help coach some of the young kids for free in my area. I'm always messaging them on Instagram, telling them to keep up, and I've got plenty of time for people. So if there is any young athletes out there, please feel free to reach out to me, because I'm not one of these athletes who's going to ignore your message. I will reply to you, and I'll spend all day. I'll give all my time back to if I see the message, I will reach back to you and give you lots of advice, because I think it's our job to give back, and let the younger athletes know some of the things that they're going to face and deal with on the way up, and some of the challenges that it takes, because we've got the talent there. But sometimes it's not handled right, or they make the wrong decisions. But we're slowly starting to see more and more talent breaking through and becoming successful. Look at our sprinters right now. It's crazy at the moment, and I think we'll continue to see that. But any young kids out there, do feel free to send me a message. I'll always be someone who's got plenty of time for everyone, especially the kids. I'm humble. I'm from, I want as many people to do as well as I can. And even in my own area, I go out my way to try and help and support as many people as I can. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a few quick questions.
Yeah, let's go.
Best training session?
Best training session. 250, 200, 150, full recovery, 20 minutes. Sick. Flat out on the gas.
How long does that session normally take?
Warm up, I'll do 45 minutes. I'll try and get a good warm up. I'll try and get into like competition mode for that. Then you're probably talking about, might do a few easy accelerations to build up for that. Could take 2 hours altogether, but I'll have 20 to 25 minutes between each run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Best training partner? Because you've had
quite a few.
It's hard, I don't want to leave no one out. I don't I'll probably say this, and then there'll be a few people pulling me up this week saying that's fine with me.
He's been put on the spot, guys. So if he doesn't say your name, do not feel upset. Trust me.
Rabbi Youssef. When I'm doing my sessions at all, I've kind of got two setups, because I don't live in Loughborough. I'm trained by Benke, and I train with Harry and Danny, but I also spend most of my time in Middlesbrough because of my family and my wife. So I train my wife. She's a great training partner. But when I'm in Teesside, Rabbi Youssef. When I'm Rab is always someone who I love training with.
Ideal food after a competition or training session?
After competition, burger, sweet potato fries, strawberry milkshake, and a big bag of Haribos or a red velvet cake. I like to eat whatever I want after.
Let's see, what question could I ask you that isn't too... It's not a bad question.
Just fire them away.
Best competition, juniors, from junior days, because over the years, like, they kind of, you had, obviously you've got the indoors, English schools. I think you was around for UK school games. You might have been around for like the first one.
I won the first ever UK school games, 100 metres.
Right.
I won it by 100th of a second. Yeah, that was incredible. First time I was ever on TV as well.
What was that like?
That was amazing.
Compared to English schools?
Well, it was amazing because, you know, English schools was good, but this was like a multi-sport thing. You were on TV, you had the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony. Yeah. You met people from all different areas. It was like a point scoring thing. And it was like a mini Olympics. And that was amazing. That was in Glasgow. That was Scotstoun Stadium. And I won it by 100th of a second. The gun went and I ran the whole race. I was that focused I didn't hear the recall gun. And I took my time walking back. Yeah. And then I won the race by 100th of a second. I was buzzing.
Who did you beat? Who did you beat in first place?
Olufunmi Sobodu.
Oh,
who was an incredible athlete. I won the English schools to beat him. Then we went to the 3As, which was like the UK Championships, and he battered me. He ran 10.48 as a junior, and I was like, what? And then somehow I turned it round again at the UK School Games to beat him again.
That was a nice little rivalry.
A nice little rivalry, yeah. Okay. So that was amazing. English schools was amazing. The first junior championships you go to was good. That was European under-20s in Hengelo. I was bottom year under-20. I only done the relay there. That was a good experience. First time, you know, you get your Great Britain kit, you're buzzing, you're over the moon, travelling with a team. That was good. And I'm a big fan of the City Games, me. I'm a big fan of them. I think they're good. I think they're amazing. Nothing really beats competing in the Olympic Stadium here.
So the last question, should we say?
Yeah.
Would you put your kid into athletics?
That's the one. That's the one. You know, and everybody keeps seeing me
because double athletics genes.
Yeah, because his mum, she's competing right now in Italy. You know, as soon as we finish, I'll probably get the results. Yeah. So I hope she does well. She broke the Lithuanian record a couple of weeks ago. Okay. World Junior Champion, European Under-23 Champion. She got pregnant in 2016 when she'd qualified for the Olympics.
You know, you're going to take the blame for
I was in trouble with the federation for a bit. I was probably the most hated by the Lithuanians for a bit, but they're friendly with me now because she's back. But she's incredible. She's like superwoman. She had the C-section. 6 months later, she was in the top 10 in the world in the triple jump after a C-section of our baby. She's doing well, and he's like a little superhuman, and he's I love him to death. It's amazing that my son, but everyone always says to me, oh, he's going to be fast, he's going to be good. But you know what? If he wants to do athletics, he watches our videos now. You know, he watches even the highlight reels that you've done, you know, things like that, and he watches and he's buzzing, go daddy, and he starts running himself, and he, you know, when he sees my races, he runs around dipping now. So what he does now, it will be in the kitchen, instead of running like this, because he sees me dipping at the end of the race, he just takes off running in a dip position, but really quick all around the house. Yeah, so he goes on his marks, set, go, and he runs off dipping, but he goes really quick.
Does it come up? Just straight dry face.
Yeah, just dry face all the way. And you know, he's strong. He's 2.5, and he's got like little abs, and he's really strong. But you know, I hope by the time he gets older, we can have the sport, you know, up in the lights a bit more. If he is, I'd love him to do that. But ultimately, as a father, now, I want to be the best dad I can for him. Everything that I do now is literally to make my family and my son proud, and you know, do well for him so he doesn't have to go down some of the routes I had to do and experience some of the things I had to do to get in the position I am. I really want to give him the best life possible, and I want him to make the decisions what he wants to make when he's older. I want him to. Maybe he'll grow up and he'll want to be a doctor. He might want to be a fireman. He might want to be a footballer. He might just want to, who knows what he might want to be. He might not want to do sports, but whatever my son wants to do, I'll support him fully, and I'll commit my life purely to, you know, help him in whatever journey he takes. If he wants to be like his mum and dad, he'll have a lot of good guidance and a lot of good people around him, and we'll make sure, you know, he has a lot of support, and I'm sure we'd go really far in that. But I'd love him to be a footballer. I'd love him to, you know, make the easy money.
What if he wakes up one day and says, Dad, I want to go do MMA.
Got a lot of friends who are boxers. One of my best friends, I was at his fight yesterday actually. He finished Dorian Darch in 2 rounds. I think it took AJ 4 rounds to finish this same opponent. So he's doing well. Commonwealth champion as an amateur. My brother-in-law and lots of my friends have all been boxers, MMA fighters, things like that. So I'd rather not see him get his face punched in. I'd encourage him. I'll teach him that, and he'll be going to my brother-in-law's jiu-jitsu classes and the catch wrestling classes and the boxing with my friends when he's older. I'll teach him all that so he can defend himself and when he's in school, making sure none of the other kids are getting bullied, because that's a terrible thing. So I'll always get him to stick up for the quiet kids. But to defend himself, he'll learn that. But I wouldn't like to see him do it, to be honest. Like I'd rather not. I'm massive fans of. I'm a huge fan. Athletics, boxing, MMA, and football are my favourite sports. But yeah, I don't know if I'd like him to do that. We'll see. But whatever path my son decides to do, I'll support him in it all. But one thing's for sure, I think we're already starting to see his strong genetics coming through already, and it's amazing seeing him develop. And as I say, whatever he decides to do, we'll support him, and I'd love him to be successful in anything.
Fantastic. I think this has been fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Podcast, honestly. I can't wait to hear you back.
Yeah.
We understand you a bit more as well as a person.
Definitely,
and, you know, the media says a lot of things, and we don't understand where it's coming from. We don't know your side of the story, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this because you're more relaxed. You seem like a really nice guy as well. Kind of online, you know. But it's fantastic to meet you, and we hope we see you in the 2020 Olympics.
Definitely,
2020. Listen, we got world champs this year.
We got world champs first. Hopefully I'll nail them standards in the next few weeks. I think
what do you need to get?
2040, 1010. I've done them both before numerous times, and I'm confident. I think I can do it, and I really think I'll do it. And hopefully I'll be on again with you sometime in the next year. There's loads more stuff. I've got so many more stories and things we can go into. I'd love to be on again with you guys. It's been amazing.
Let's book him in for like early winter season. Like, like just before it starts off. So around like the late October, we can get.
So we know you are quite busy at this moment because we've been trying to get you on for ages.
We've missed each other so many times.
But it's been amazing to have you on again. Like I feel like I don't know there's more there for you to say, and I hope the next few years goes really well for you and your wife. Good luck to her, and hopefully we might do a double. We might have both of you at the same time.
Well, she's already done the Olympic and World qualifier, so she's already in Doha and Tokyo. So now the pressure's on me. Man at the house, I've got to do something.
You will take that in your stride.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, thanks again, man, for coming on. It's been amazing, and I just wish you all the best of luck for the rest of the season, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Cool. I'll see you soon.
We out.
Question Louis Vuitton when I'm stepping in. 30 bottles of the zoo till I'm sentimental. I had to